Hello. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to the family of Deborah Henry Cooper, most especially her husband, Vernon, her beloved only son, only child, Ross, Mr. and Mrs. Henry, and Mrs. Cooper, and all other family members. I just would like to thank you for this opportunity to send a videotape expressing condolences, especially from the Meharry Medical College family. I am Pamela Payne Foster, and I am donning and wearing the 25th Silver Anniversary class robe and medallion that I received at Meharry Medical College in May of 2015. That was where I last saw Debbie at our class reunion, class of 1990. We have talked numerous times since that silver anniversary, through both the good times, the graduation of her son, Ross, from college, and also the bad and sad times. Most recently, her recent medical diagnosis. And I can say, and I think I also speak for so many of my classmates from the Meharry family, that we feel her loss deeply, but we also celebrate her legacy. It is said that often it is easy to bond and form friendships with people during good times, but often the bonds are stronger during difficult times and times of struggle. Certainly anybody who's gone through medical school knows how tough it is and how hard it is. And I am so glad that at Meharry we were able to rely so much on our classmates to survive it. That was the case for me. I don't know about others and many of my classmates, but I think that probably was the case also for Debbie. But through a formation of a study group in med school, a few of us got together. Maurice, I remember Maurice, the twins, Jackie, and others. It helped me get through my years, the tough years at Meharry. And our success was contagious. And we enlarged our group to include others, including Debbie, including Rod, including Felicia, and others. Each of us had our strengths, but we also had weaknesses. And wherever there were weaknesses, there were our classmates to lift us up and strengthen us. We spent a lot of time together studying because that's what it required to graduate and get through, but we also spent a lot of time getting to know each other and having fun. We cried, we laughed, we studied a lot, but we also partied a lot and had fun together. And I just want to point out a couple of things that we really loved Debbie for. Number one, she was a no-nonsense, practical, and straightforward, disciplined and wise person. I still remember some of the sayings that Debbie used to say to me. I call them Debbieisms. One of them was, living well is the best revenge. I also marveled at her commitment and her passion for her field of psychiatry and other passions she had. She wasn't a person who just did things. She went all in when she was really committed to it. I remember her becoming a nationally certified parliamentarian because she just loved the whole idea of order. And so that was just such an inspiration. Secondly, we all know when we were at Meharry, Debbie was a socialite. I remember relaxation for her was shopping. Shop till you drop. And she was also a fashionista. She organized and invited a wide group of friends, for example, female friends from Meharry, from when she was at Penn, from high school in the D.C. area, to a social tea at the Ritz-Carlton, and I never will forget it. At first I poo-pooed it because I said, oh, Debbie, that's her and her bouginess again. But I tell you, we had the best time at that tea because really it was what Debbie really cherished. Relationships were her thing, and she was the one who sort of coordinated and brought us all together. So in that way, she was also a networker. And lastly, she was a spiritual person and also very creative. Spiritual in the sense that family was very, very, very important to her as an only child. Everything she did revolved around her parents. I remember Mr. and Mrs. Henry. Everything she did, where she was going to do her residency, where she was going to live, where she wanted to start a family. She always talked about her husband, Ross, and a few of us remember being at that wedding, but at Vernon, marriage to Vernon, but also she talked always about her son, Ross. And so that's why I say she was spiritual. She was also very creative. She loved Oprah Winfrey. If many of you from class of 1990 remember, we had a class play, and she played Oprah Winfrey, and she played her to a T. So that just shows you her creative side. She was also the author of a children's book on etiquette. And I never will forget, she put so much energy and time into that book. And I was just so proud of her. And really, she inspired me later to write a book and write 2 books. It's funny, she introduced me to the person who would later be my editor. So always networking, always putting people together. And lastly, as a wedding gift to me, on my wedding, she made me a beautiful wooden table. And she actually painted our wooden African symbols on that table. And that table sits in my home now with me and my husband, Bill, where this past year, this tough year during COVID, we actually used that table as our altar. And so I'm so glad, sad, of course, at the loss of Debbie, but glad with the legacy that she left with us, that I will always cherish and remember. Thank you so much. And I also just want to mention so many from the Meharry family who couldn't be at this event today. Her roommate, Delilah, other very, very close friends, Carla, Booker, so many of them, so numerous to mention by name, but I do feel confident that I speak for them, that we have been blessed, that our paths crossed Debbie Henry Cooper's path, and we thank God that you are at peace and no longer suffering. Thank you.